Captain's log, stardate 99924.53. Co-Captain Shoff is out this week celebrating the birth of a beautiful baby girl. We couldn't be happier for Shoff and his family. Although I could never completely fill his shoes, I've asked Captain FrankRamblings of the USS Thought Bubble to join me for the penultimate episode of Star Trek Picard Season 2. Captain Ramblings is a dear friend and a great podcaster, and soon to be a Trek-loving father himself. So this mission should be a lot of fun. Aw, yeah, it's time for another episode of TREKnological. Thank you very much for joining us on our Shoffless voyage, but I think you guys are going to be very happy because I have one of my best friends in all of podcasting, Mr. Frank Ramblings, joining us from the USS Thought Bubble. Frank, how's it going, my friend?
Hey! Glad to be here. Thank you so much, Vector, and congratulations to Shoff. I'm so excited for him and so excited to be here. Thrilled to be here.
Yeah, we are very happy to have you here. I wanted actually to start off the show and two things. Number one, I want everybody right now, stop what you're doing and pull up thoughtbubbleaudio.com and just leave it there. Just have it there in the background and you can peruse all of Frank's audio ramblings. Also, Frank Ramblings on Twitter, some excellent insights as well. But I wanted to start off the show before we get into our Trek news like we usually do. Actually, you know what? Instead of us going into our Trek news, let's just refer everyone to our show notes. There's some nice stuff over on StarTrek.com. They've got a new episode of The Ready Room with Michelle Hurd and Eva Goria, or Evan Goria, sorry, who plays Elnor. Annie Wershing, the Borg Queen. She's got a nice little thing about becoming the Borg Queen. Star Trek Lower Deck Season 2 is on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
There's a Season 3 trailer. And there is I'm going to butcher this name, but John Flugog? Fluvog. He has an awesome Starfleet boot design for Strange New World. So head over to our show notes. You can see all those things. All right. Now that the news is out of the way, we can get right on to the ramblings. And I want, Frank, you are one of my closest friends in all of podcasting. We have a long podcasting history.
Yeah.
We used to do a tech podcast together called Tech Ramblings. On my Batman podcast, Gotham podcast with Hunter Camp. You and Tim came on. Tim also from Beer with Geeks, which is one of my favorite podcasts to listen to. But we have a long, storied history together. And I'm very happy you could join us. But tell all of the listeners who are not familiar, who is Frank Ramblings and what is his Trek background?
Ooh, okay. Well, I am a dyed-in-the-wool geek, dyed-in-the-wool nerd. Love me some sci-fi, some comics.
Yes.
I mean, Vector, you and I, first became buddies when you were doing a comic book podcast, and I would join you on that a lot.
Yes.
Before the Vector Loves Comics and you should too. Way back in the day. And but my Trek story, it's funny, we haven't actually talked that much about Trek, you and I together.
Yeah, I was surprised because you had reached out to me and I was thankful that you were listening to our podcast, but just that you were a Trek fan in general. I did not know that about you. I knew you were a huge Beatles fan, Star Wars guy, but I did not know about the Trek. So tell me more.
I first came into the original series as a kid. I mean, I was like younger than 10, probably around that age, and around the same age that I discovered Star Wars, I discovered Star Trek. There was I remember specifically there was like a Star Trek original series marathon on like a local TV station. So I just soaked up all the Kirk and Spock goodness that I could. So that's sort of where my heart lives, is original series. Nice. But Kirk and Picard are my captains, are my favorite captains.
Yeah.
When I was in third grade, I had a third grade teacher who was she was completely obsessed with Star Trek Voyager.
Ooh.
She loved Voyager to the point where she gave everybody in the class a nickname of one of the characters from Voyager. Like,
oh, wow.
So she was the captain, and then I was Chakotay, and like another girl in my class was 7 of 9. And she would call us those names in the classroom. Like if I raised my hand, she wouldn't call me Frank. She would say, okay, Commander, yes, what? So like
That's amazing.
She was like hardcore Trek. On our last day of the school year, we watched there was nothing to do, right? So like you would on the last day of school, you'd expect the teacher to show a movie, right? No, we watched the Voyager finale.
Yay!
so that was that like imprinted on me as well.
Nice.
And I have been a Trek fan ever since. I mean, the movies, the 2009 Star Trek, the J.J. Abrams Star Trek it might honestly be the movie I've seen more than any other movie.
Ooh, nice.
It is actually, I don't know that for sure, but it's possible that I've seen it at least 40 times or something. Like I freaking love that movie.
That movie has so much, it produces so much endorphins in you. Like it just makes you feel good from the music to the cast to the action. Yeah, when I saw that movie in the theater for the first time, it was like a revelation. I was like, this is what I want to see on the big screen.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, the score. Yeah. Like that. That Michael Giacchino score just.
I can hear it in my mind right now.
The enterprising young men, right? Like
yes.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, and then but I sort of, I've gone through phases of like being really on into Trek and then sort of falling away from it a little bit. But when Discovery was announced, I was like, cool, new Star Trek. I am signing up for CBS All Access to watch this. And I mean, I've been on for 4 seasons of Discovery, and now when they announced Picard, I was just over the moon excited.
Yes.
I've felt like the first couple of seasons of Discovery were fine, but it's gotten better with age. I know you're working your way through Discovery.
Yep.
But like I feel like season 4 has been the strongest of that show.
Oh, nice.
And now Picard, I'm just so. It has its ups and downs, but I'm just so excited for like a weekly dose of one of my favorite captains. With 7 of 9 thrown in there too for the Voyager connection. So, exactly. So,
that's great.
I love Trek. I love TREKnological. I jumped on with this season of Picard, and just love what you and Schaff have been doing, and was honored to be asked to join you. So I am so stoked to be here.
Excellent. Well, hopefully this is the first of many voyages with us, many missions in the future, because like I said, you are one of my favorite people in all of podcasting, not only as a host, but as a listener, because all of your podcasts that you do are so well produced, and just the content is engaging, enjoyable, especially, when you have Tim to go off of and banter with. It's just chef's kiss whenever I
thanks,
hear
buddy.
Thank you. Podcast. So yeah, I'm definitely glad you're here to join us for this episode, and that it is a Picard 7 collaboration. I think is perfect. So set a course for our episode recap, Maximum Warp.
Aye, sir. Course laid in.
Engage. Picard and his crew fight for their lives as they come under attack from a new incarnation of an old enemy. But to survive, Picard must first face the ghost of his past. Seven and Rafi have a final showdown with Jurati. So Hide and Seek was written by Matt Okamura and Chris Derrick, directed by Michael Weaver, airing on Paramount Plus Thursday, April 28th, 2022. Oh, yeah. So this is the penultimate episode of Picard Season 2, and I think, for me, this episode was a good lead into the final episode. Like, it got everybody back together, kind of the separate storylines that have been going on throughout the season, pulling them back together, uniting them on, what is the mission that we have to get done? What started this whole thing to begin with? Let's actually let's take care of that. And I think it did its job. Like, it didn't blow me away as this is an amazing episode. My eyes are melting. But I think it did what it had to do to get us to the finale. And I'm interested to see what's going to be the wrap up. What did you think about this episode?
Yeah, I agree. It did what it was. It was a very functional episode,
yes, right?
But not my favorite of the season per se. But like I do really appreciate how the storylines are converging, and I felt like a very much a sense of like, okay, I see where we're going now. Like at the beginning of the season, I felt like I knew where we were. I thought, okay, cool. There's going to be time travel. We're going to be saving the future. Great. And I've honestly, by and large, I've really enjoyed the season. Honestly, I really have. But there have been moments that we sort of stray away from the main story, or it's not clear where the main story is going. And this is one of those episodes where everything is coming together, and now I'm like supercharged excited for the finale. Right? Like, like it really it was not the most action packed or the most like, but it brings everything together and sort of. It does the work of getting you excited for the finale to see how this is finally going to pay off.
Right. And we had a previous theory, and I'm sure you've seen this kind of floating out there, or you might have even come to this conclusion yourself, that hooded Borg Queen, in the first episode, it's got to be Jurati, right? Like, it has to be.
100%. It has to be.
There's no other reason why they would cover her face. I can't think of. Then, it's going to be this great reveal. And I think this episode, it just pushed it that much further.
Yes.
And I can't see her separating from the Borg Queen now. I just see her as one entity.
That's exactly right. I this whole season, I thought like, okay, how will she separate herself?
Right.
Eventually, she's going to have to separate herself because Agnes Jurati has been this pivotal character to the series,
right?
Both of these seasons, but I think it's becoming clear. It's becoming sort of cemented that she is the queen, or there's she said herself like we're a new entity, or however she put it. So I don't think there is going to be that separation. I think there's a new future now for them.
And let me ask you this, because I was watching it with my wife Candy, and she was kind of when Jurati was making her pitch to the Borg Queen and save Seven, and it felt like, to me and my wife too, we were kind of going back and forth. The Borg Queen was kind of setting her up and saying, okay, I want you to believe I'm good. I want you to believe that I care. But at the end, she's going to put the knife in the back. She's going to backstab her. What did you think about that whole scene? Did you feel like, okay, Jurati's made a good case. It's going to be clean, wrapped up. She's good now. She's a good queen. We don't have to worry about her from now on.
Never trust the Borg Queen. Never trust the Borg Queen. Like it seemed convincing enough. It seemed like she was making a good case.
And I wanted it to be that.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
You're doing the right thing.
And like it looked like she was convincing her, but I just can't let myself believe that the Borg Queen is actually going to give up or give in to her sole purpose has been what it has been for, all of these years that we've been watching her.
Right.
I just can't really let myself believe that she's gonna turn to the good side.
Yeah, and it's like we want it in our heart of hearts. We want it, but I just don't think it's gonna happen.
Yeah,
we'll see in the next episode. And man, I am so excited. Not only is the finale next week for Picard, but the first episode of Strange New Worlds next week. And I was watching. There was something on the. Do you watch The Ready Room?
I've watched it. Yeah.
They did a
with Will Wheaton.
They did a very nice setup for Strange New Worlds, and like you mentioned earlier, I'm a little bit behind on Discovery, so I don't have a lot of the connection to that cast. So it caught me up on where they were from and kind of how they're coming into Strange New Worlds. So that I thought was a really good segment. And I think Paramount also splits up the segments that are on the Ready Room. So you can go on their YouTube channel and just look at that segment or the other segments that they have. So yeah, highly recommend that. Very excited for Strange New
Oh,
Worlds.
I'm so pumped for that show.
Like you said, you're original series fan.
Yes.
Like that's right up your alley.
Pike. Like I am so excited for like the Pike backstory because that was one of the unaired original pilot featuring Pike was one of the first episodes that I got to experience, and I've always had a connection to Pike. Again, Star Trek 2009 with Pike being like his mentor, Kirk's mentor in that movie.
Man, I love Bruce Greenwood in that.
Oh, he's so good. He's so perfect for that. But Anson Mount, who was on Smallville, by the way, Anson Mount is a great Pike, and I'm excited for like an episodic, sort of freak of the week style Star Trek again.
Right.
I hope it's sort of because I've loved this, for years now we've had the sort of season-long arc version of Star Trek, which has been great. Don't get me wrong. I love it. It's great storytelling. They do a great job with it. But I am a little bit nostalgic for the, one and done Gene Roddenberry morality play style of Star Trek. We were just talking about this on Pure Geeks. Actually, it's the most recent episode if you as we're recording this. So but like it gets me so excited to have that sort of hearkening back to old-fashioned Trek again, because that's what I first fell in love with.
Right. I'm the exact same way. That's what my bread and butter has always been. And like I said, I'm not caught up on Discovery. So Picard has been my real kind of season-long storytelling mythology episode. So I'm really excited to get... it was nice to have that little divergence, but I'm ready to get back to my bread and butter.
Yes.
And it's funny you mentioned that. I did not remember Anson Mount from Smallville, and I turned to my wife when I was watching that Ready Room segment. I turned to my wife and said, "Man, he could have played a good Superman. The way he looks,
he could have. Yeah, he has the look.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Now I was just doing a little bit of research here. I completely forgot. Went right over my head.
Season 3, I think.
Season 2.
Season 2. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
But definitely, if anyone out there is a Smallville fan, I have to scream from the rooftops any chance I get. There is a Smallville podcast that FrankRamblings has produced that this is not hyperbole. This is the best podcast I have ever listened to in my life. It's called Save Me, the Smallville Anthology, and it blows my mind that I know the person who created this podcast. So everyone out there, if you're a Smallville fan, you have to listen to Save Me. Subscribe right now, and Frank, start a Patreon. I want to throw money. I want to do whatever I can. Everyone go listen to Save Me. It's the best podcast of all time.
Thanks, buddy. That's really nice of you to say. Thanks. I do love Smallville. It is a major passion of mine.
Yes. So I think the things about the episode that I was not a big fan of, and I want to ask you this.
Yeah.
And this has been throughout the season. The Picard memories,
the
Picard
flashbacks
stuff, I just don't like them, and they've gone on way too long for this whole season.
It's a little boring.
Yeah.
They're a little bit boring.
They bring the momentum to a screeching halt.
That's it. Every time there's something it's like literally they're being chased by a bunch of new Borg, right? And Dr. Sung, and then like let's go back 90 years ago to when Picard was a little boy, and him talking to his mama, and I hate this. I feel bad saying that because like it is a very like poignant story about mental health, and I'm actually really, really glad, I've struggled with mental health myself, and people who I love have too, and so I feel very like I'm always very gladdened to see those stories being told and being told in a sensitive and thoughtful, meaningful way. But the fact of the matter is, like, my personal experience aside, just looking at like you said, the momentum that there's like literally a fight scene, a battle scene, and then let's stop and look at these sad, like sort of echoes of the past. And it's I feel like they could have still worked that in, still told a story about mental health and still told a story about his connection to his mom and to his dad and his misunderstanding of his dad and all of that stuff that I think is really good and interesting and important and fleshes out the character of Jean-Luc Picard. And they could have done it in a way that didn't sort of feel like it was, added on to the story of what's happening sort of, in the present, so to speak.
Yeah. And the thing that kind of even drives it even further for me down into the ground was, are you caught up on Moon Knight?
I'm a couple episodes behind. Yeah.
The latest episode of Moon Knight was also their penultimate episode. And there was a lot of mental health stuff in that, a lot of flashback and going to a character's childhood. It was done way better, way more interesting. And so I had watched Moon Knight and then I had watched Picard, and it was like, oh man, they aired right after each other, and Moon Knight's was so much better. So that also dragged it down for me.
Yeah, It can be done well. It can be done very, very well.
Right. The only saving grace for me, as a Battlestar fan, is James Callis.
Sure.
His performance, Gaius Baltar. That I just love him as an actor. So seeing him as Picard's dad, in the limited role that he has been a pleasure. We got to see him again in this episode.
Yeah.
As we did last episode. But the memories, man, they're just not my favorite part of the episode.
Yeah. Not my favorite. It does. It's sort of like a stop and go, right? Like the episode felt like we're hitting the gas and now we're taking a foot off the gas. And now we're hitting the gas and we're taking a foot off the gas. And it just sort of was a little bit of like a, rubbernecking kind of thing. But
Exactly.
but like, I mean, dark, very dark where that went. I kind of guessed that was sort of the road we were going to with Picard's mother. But
I did not. When I saw it, I was like, "Whoa, this is a little heavy."
I didn't think they would show us like in such graphic terms, but
yes.
That was. I kind of felt like they needed to be like a trigger warning before the episode or something for that.
Right. Exactly. And also, you mentioned Sung.
Yes.
Earlier, and I think, to go from my low light of the episode to probably my highlight of the episode, I think Brent Spiner's performance as Sung over the course of this, whole season has been fantastic. But I think this episode in particular is the one that I guess the light bulb went off over my head, because, I've always loved him as Data, but in this season I was like, man, he's a really good actor. Like the performance as Sung has been one of my favorite things. And we saw the Next Generation cast is going to be on season 3 of Picard. So all of our old buddies are coming back, but it's been great to see more of Brent Spiner, because I thought at the end of last season we weren't going to see him again.
Sure.
Yeah, I've really liked his performance this season. What's been your highlight for this episode, Frank? What did you really like?
Highlight for this episode, I actually think was the Jurati and the Queen, those back and forths, those dialogues. That was in terms of visually how they told that story, right? And sort of almost freezing time to have the two of them have those conversations.
Yep.
And see, we haven't seen Annie Wershing in a few episodes as the Borg Queen, so to have her back, because I've loved her she was on 24 back in like the early 2000s.
Wow.
And so I've known her since back then. So when I realized, I watched the premiere of this season and saw the Borg Queen and didn't connect that was the same actor. Until like after I'd watched the episode and listened to you talk about it on TREKnological and saw it elsewhere, like, oh, that's the same actor that I loved same woman I loved from 24. So like I've liked her for a long time, and I think she just does a fantastic job. Her stuff on she was on an episode of The Ready Room a few weeks ago.
Yes.
That was a great interview.
Yes. Love that.
Yeah.
And they even pointed out in that, I forgot that she was in Enterprise.
That was like one of her first TV roles.
Yeah.
Or maybe her first TV role. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So she has that Star Trek background.
Yes.
She's an alumni.
Yeah.
So that
I
that's
love
really
that they were like, well, I mean, we could just say that, like, we could just make it canon that, like, that character got assimilated.
Yes,
And that's
yes.
how the Queen has the same face.
Yeah.
Which I love that they, like, entertained that.
Yeah, that's great. But yeah, this was, like I said, I think Frank and I are both on the same page. It was a workman episode. It was kind of, it got the job done, got us to where we needed to be. Because that was another thing I was wondering is, man, there's all these different storylines. How are they going to bring everybody together? Because everybody's going off on their own. Mm-hmm. And we've had some nice kind of, with Guinan, and we've had some nice little things. I'm still wondering, what is the deal with Q? Like, what is the whole, like, what is it? Like, what, from the start? Yeah.
What's the deal? What's the deal with Q? That's probably my biggest question, is what is the deal with Q? I am actually I'm surprised that we're not getting more of Q throughout the season.
I'm actually a little worried that this last episode is not going to be as satisfying.
I'm worried that it might be rushed. Like, and I mean, there's no fixed length that they need to stick to because it's streaming, but it does seem like they stick to sort of that 48 to 50 minute mark. And they have the commercial break things in there. Like, they stick to sort of the primetime TV format. So it probably isn't going to be longer. So I'm kind of worried that they're going to rush and fit a lot in, because now, it's been a couple of episodes now where Picard has said, well, I guess in the previously on segment, it's like, flashing back to like, Q, it seems very urgent for Q. And I'm like, yes, tell me why, please, for the love of all things holy, tell me why it is so urgent for Q. That, and I actually thought that the agent Wells that had them locked up last episode, I thought that we would be going into, I didn't think he was actually going to be a U.S. government agent, because that actor was on Voyager in the episode Relativity. That deals with the USS Relativity, like the whole thing with like the time cops. Right. And so I thought for sure that he was posing as a government agent, but that it would be revealed that he was here to help them fix the timeline. But then it turned out it just was coincidentally the same actor, and he was really a government agent.
That's a prime opportunity they blew right there.
It just felt like a missed opportunity because it was literally the same actor.
Yes.
And I was like, there's no way it's a coincidence. Every time they've had, Annie Wershing aside, every time there's been an actor, like there has been a connection. Like they're very good about connections and throwbacks and references to old Trek, even with Talon sort of having possible connections or resemblance or a reference to the Gary 7 episode of the original series where where she turns into the cat.
Yeah. Even that guy on the bus that was
even the guy on the bus from Star Trek 4.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, this has been Star Trek 4, but the Next Generation, right?
Yes,
like literally, it's been and it's the same actor who was the guy on the bus. I mean,
that is, I can't believe they did not take that opportunity.
That disappointed me a little bit, but that aside, I do really want to know what's going on with Q, because that seems like so pivotal to, that's why we're in the future, right? Because of the Confederation and all of that, and I really thought that his conversation with Guinan would give us more insight into that, but I guess we'll find out next week.
Yeah, hopefully we can get a satisfying conclusion and, lead us into season 3. Give us a good kind of springboard into season 3.
I wonder if it will be if they'll wrap it up, or if it will be a like cliffhanger or something that sort of, sends us directly into season 3. Yeah,
because it was kind of crazy when I found out that they had already filmed season 3 ahead of time.
Right.
I wonder if they've already got, I haven't heard anything, a release date for season 3.
I've not heard a release date, no.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
I mean, it seems like Paramount Plus is very much, Star Trek is one of their crown jewels
Yes.
of their collection, right? The same way that on Disney Plus, you've got the Star Wars and the Marvel stuff, and there's always either a Star Wars or a Marvel series on at any given moment.
Right.
Clearly, they're doing the same thing with Trek at Paramount Plus, which is very savvy and very smart, and it's working for them.
Yes.
It's got me hooked, right?
Right. Same.
Where I would not be subscribed to Paramount Plus if there was not a Trek.
Yes.
To watch. They've got my money every month. So I wonder if they're going to wait until we're a little further into Strange New Worlds, and then we'll get an announcement of when the next Picard season launches.
Man,
but yeah, they were right. They've already filmed it, so it's just a matter of when they want to drop it, really.
Right. Man, I am so excited for the finale next week and for the start of Strange New Worlds. And I'm so excited that my good friend, Frank Ramblings, was able to join us on this episode of TREKnological. We have a podcast network, if you are not familiar. The Geek So to Speak podcast network consists of Geek So to Speak, the Geek News podcast, the Holdo Maneuver, our Star Wars podcast, the Sandbox Gamers, our video game podcast, and We Love Comics, and you should too.
Yeah.
All those things can be found at geeksotospeak.com/network. You can also find us on Instagram and Twitter at TREKnopod. My good friend, Frank Ramblings, where can they find you on the internet this week?
You can always find me at beerwithgeeks.com. That's sort of my main podcast. I'm also on Superman and Lois TV Talk, where we talk about the Superman and Lois show over on the CW, and ThoughtBubbleAudio.com for the network that I run with my buddy Tim and a bunch of our friends. You can find all kinds of podcasts about geeky topics as well as movies. We have a podcast where we talk about all of the Academy Award nominated films ever, watching them one year at a time. A whole bunch of great podcasts over at thoughtbubbleaudio.com. So you can find me at all those places, and Frank Ramblings on Twitter.
Yeah, and listeners, remember I told you at the beginning of this episode, leave Thought Bubble Audio open on your browser. Now that the episode's over, you can go there, subscribe to every show on Thought Bubble Audio. And like I said, if you enjoyed Frank's contributions today, you will love all of his breakdowns of every other TV show, movie, everything. Even his breakdowns of beers. Everything that Frank does, you will love. So check him out. And definitely, Frank, thank you very much for joining us. It was a pleasure, and I'm definitely going to have you back on.
The pleasure is all mine, buddy. It's good to be here.
Yeah. All right. Don't forget, listeners, I forgot to tell you, you should also subscribe to us. If you have not, give us a review in Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and share us with all of your Trek-loving family and friends. Next week, like I said, we're going to be talking about the finale of Picard, and we're going to do double duty. We're going to be also be talking about the premiere of Strange New Worlds. So with that, I believe our mission of the week is complete. Vector and Frank here, 2 to beam up.
Live long and prosper.